All right, gentlemen, this is the episode we've been waiting for. This is the episode I know a lot of our fans have been waiting for. I mean, I feel like we've waited so long for it, but finally, like to engage with it, to spend time in that world, to see the world that a master, a genius has created for us, and just to share it with you. I couldn't think of a better Christmas gift. So, yeah, I mean, to spend any amount of time in the world, the sort of uncannily rendered, beautiful sort of science fiction reality of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Fellas, your thoughts? I mean, I'm stunned. I'm speechless.
Yeah, like I mean, like we all had huge expectations, right? You know, I think everyone did, just because of like the groundbreaking work that we've seen this creator do before. And I think I kind of speak for myself, and I think I speak for everyone who's going to see this, that our expectations could never do justice to what we actually saw. It's not just the beauty of the world and the imagination and the richness and the fullness of it, but it's also like the promise that there are things that beautiful in the world that we live in, and that we can take some of that magic with us once we're done watching.
Although I have to say, when I did finish, I was filled with a deep emptiness when I realized that I did not live in Tulsa and that I have no likelihood in the near future to visit.
But you know what? It's not just the special effects though. There's something very human in this story, which suggests that all of us could be Tulsa kings or queens. You know, and look, on a previous Christmas episode, you know, we talked about the genius, the god, Sly Stallone, and Cobra. I didn't think that Tulsa King would be better than Cobra, but holy shit, here I am having just seen the first 6 episodes, and it was worth waiting 40 years for. I mean, Sly Stallone hasn't done anything since Cobra. He's just been he's only been working on Tulsa King for the last 40 years. It's taken us this long, but we finally
it's the ultimate passion project.
Yeah.
He created a Tulsa Dome just outside of the city where they've been working on this nonstop for decades.
Did you know that Stallone actually worked with linguists from MIT and Harvard to create a new language that we hear and speak in this Paramount Plus series? It actually sounds like a system of mumbles and conjunctions, but it's a totally new language he invented.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's just the universe that he created in this, the universe of Tulsa, is so vividly rendered that people think Tulsa is a real place. Mm-hmm. They think it's a real city. There's people who want to visit Tulsa after seeing Tulsa King, and you just got to say, like, no, it's only the product. It's just the product of the Imagineers that created this fictional environment for Stallone to live and prosper in, and for all of us to imbibe his lessons.
But if we do that, then we can make Tulsa real. I really do believe that. I believe we can all realize that we all live in Tulsa, and we can live in Tulsa if we all want it.
Yeah, no, Matt, you're exactly right. I went to a talk by Mr. Stallone, and that is pretty much exactly what he said. That, like, even if you're not like literally a 75-year-old mobster who just got out of prison, yet who is curiously able to beat up everyone that he meets, and, you know, despite being 75 and 5'4" and mostly scar tissue, every woman he meets wants to fuck him. Even though we're not like literally that, we can sort of live that. We can take his lessons and we can take his way of being and be how he is to Tulsa in our own environs. And I think that's amazing.
Yes.
I think that's a beautiful message.
And you know what? And I don't want to hear any of the criticism that Stallone and Taylor Sheridan are engaging in tropes about the elderly.
No.
Because look, this is a real character, okay? This is not just, look, I know Taylor Sheridan has said some questionable things about the elderly in the past, but look, any offensive comparisons, I think they fall flat. This is a work that honors, respects, and upholds elderly peoples the world over and their folkways. Elderly Italian people, especially.
Absolutely. There's always going to be, you know, critics of people who take on this world, saying that they like don't understand the customs or like the traditions. But I mean, I just gotta say that this is the reason that we go on web-based C-tier streaming services, to see a new world.
This is why we watch television on streaming based at Paramount Plus. This is what Paramount Plus was created for.
Exactly.
It took them years to create the Paramount technologies necessary to render the universe of Tulsa. And man, oh man, has it paid off. So, listener, you may be asking yourself now, why are we not talking about the $1 billion movie that you've been waiting for years for us to finally see the Avatar: The Way of Water and talk about the world's #1 movie instead of a Paramount Plus TV series that probably 5 people have watched? Well, look, listener, there's some complications have arisen. The gay potion that Matt dosed himself with, the dark web gay potion, Matt has had some adverse reaction to the dark web gay poison that he had to take as a result of saying Herschel Walker would win the runoff election.
It's true. I have been forced to stay in my home for the next week until I test negative for gay before I'm allowed to go into a movie theater. But as soon as I can, I promise I will go. I will be transported, and then we will talk about Avatar.
Yeah, we were all responsible, obviously. Like, we all, got tested ever since fast tested. Doctors actually said I have the most natural immunity. It's almost like I drink it every day of my life, is what they said. Which I don't. I want to clarify, I don't. But yeah, no, we got to be safe. We will review this sort of like lesser, not as interesting, not as exciting, or creative or inventive media franchise later. But, we're really here. We're really here to talk about, I think you would call it the successor to not only Avatar, but Terminator, The Sopranos, and let's just say Anna Karenina too. This is a lot. This is
Bible.
The Bible, Revolutionary Road, The Secret, the Quran, the Theravedias, or whatever the other book is called. The stuff that Buddha said.
By the way, I just want to correct one thing that Will said. This show is not being watched by 5 people. It's got better ratings than House of the Dragon.
Let's go.
It's
really?
huge.
A better world is possible.
Huge.
Okay.
Taylor Sheridan cannot be defeated.
Okay.
He has the algorithm for the lumpen American television viewer.
No,
not your hipsters.
Well, this is what I want to talk about.
Have something they can talk about on Twitter, but people who like actually sit down and watch the bulk of scripted televition. He is their fucking snake charmer, and he knows what they want.
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
It's already been renewed
TV.
for a second season.
It's okay. So, thank God for that. I mean, look, I was being perhaps too dismissive of Taylor Sheridan and the Taylor Sheridan verse as well. I know Yellowstone is a huge hit, and it makes perfect sense that Tulsa King is also a huge hit. I meant among our listeners.
Oh yeah, none of our listeners watch this. None of our listeners watch this. They all watch. We all know what our fucking stupid fucking listeners watch. They watch some like fucking post-ironic bullshit that gets released on like, I don't know, you can only watch it in a laundromat. You have to show proof of purchase that you bought one sandwich from an Ock at the bodega in order to watch it. They're watching whatever the fuck they're watching. I don't give a shit. Taylor Sheridan, as Matt has alluded to, is one of the new gods of TV. He is an immortal being, more powerful than the previous great one, Ken Olin. Ken Olin may write, sentimental comedy, quasi fucking family drama fluff for the dying generation, the boomers. Okay, he may be a superstar god at that, but Taylor Sheridan, he is really zeroed in on the most important new audience, people who were born around 1980. Taylor Sheridan knows their values. He knows how they want to be thought of and portrayed. All his shows, they are about sort of morally conflicted, guys who are rough around the edges but have a heart of gold. And this represents the viewers, people who are entering their early 40s and maybe have been disinvited from several family functions for some weirdly sexual comments they've made about a younger cousin's girlfriend.
Well, okay, this is all very appropriate for Taylor Sheridan, the new god of television, because do you guys recall where Taylor Sheridan got his start before he became the god of movies and television? That is right, not as a writer, director, or showrunner, but as an actor on the greatest TV series of all time, Sons of Anarchy, a show that I think honestly birthed Chapo Trap House. Like the three of us basically connected with each other to talk about Sons of Anarchy and go on Street Fight and shoot the shit with the B&B about our favorite TV show. Taylor Sheridan played the sheriff of the
good cop.
Was it Redwood, California? Yeah.
He got immediately murked, though. They just wrote him out of the show halfway through the first season. He was killed in the season 3 premiere, episode 1, season 3.
Yeah, so Taylor Sheridan's character in Sons of Anarchy is named David Hale, and the head of the charming police department is this horrible sort of waterlogged looking man, Unsler, whose entire reason for being a cop
Charlie Utter.
He's had a crush on Gemma for approximately 78 years. She is a beautiful woman, don't get me wrong. But David Hale, meanwhile, is like a real good stand-up cop, the kind of guy who rescues cats out of trees. And if he touched fentanyl, he can hold it out. He'll hold his breath. He'll be fine. He's jacked. There is this one really, really weird scene that I can't get out of my head where Jax is on a stealth mission in the police station. First, he's like stealing some documents, and then he sees Taylor Sheridan's character, David Hale, just nailing one of the deputies from behind. Just fucking balls slapping on thighs, pop, pop, pop. He's just giving it to her. I don't know why they showed us that, but they did. Anyway,
I know why.
Well, we all wanted to see it, obviously. But anyway, he was a good. He was a good.
Trying to get some poison out of my body, Felix.
Well, some say the poison is letting it out, but he plays a good honest cop who obviously hates the Suns because they cause an excess of 700 murders a week and countless property damage
in a town of 300 people.
They can't be making more than $500 a week. But then later he has to work. He has to work with the Suns because the writers were like, who can we think of as a villain who's like somehow worse than the Sons of Anarchy? I know a Nazi who fucks his daughter and then he dies. But that is not the end of Taylor Sheridan, the man. He became a god. The closest thing we have to a god, a TV showrunner.
Yeah, and he really is, as Matt said, he is the sort of the whisperer of like the vastly underserved like red state America TV watching audience, which I think I can tell why he's so successful because there's a moment in the pilot episode of Yellowstone, which was like that was his like tentpole TV property with Kevin Costner being ridiculous, and I believe on Yellowstone now Kevin Costner is now the Republican governor of Montana on that
so
show,
stupid,
which is great.
Awesome.
But in the pilot episode of Yellowstone, Kevin Costner's daughter, like the sort of Lady Macbeth style, sort of cold-blooded, he's got a lot of like icy cold-blooded women who are sort of very mercenary and sort of promiscuous. It's a running theme here. But the Kevin Costner's the sort of the princess of the ranch is at a sort of swanky hotel bar in Bozeman, Montana, which is sort of the cool college town in Montana. And a guy at a bar starts hitting on her. Yeah, I fucking hate Bozeman people so much. But there's a guy at the bar who's hitting on her, and he's like, just like politely trying to buy her a drink. And then for no reason, she shuts him down by saying, like something about like, let me guess, like, you moved out here from California to like live the real lifestyle. Let me tell you something, buddy. You look like a soft fuck. And then walks away. And I was like, okay, yeah. Now I understand why this is the #1 show on TV, because nobody watching it wants to imagine that they're a soft fuck. But you better believe Kevin Costner is laying hard pipe because he's a man of the old school. And that is what Taylor Sheridan shows are all about. It's about the clash in values and morality between sort of the Western male archetypes and what does that mean in a modern sort of pussified soy world. And
Yeah.
and now with Tulsa King, he adds to that mix what happens when you take the old school masculinity of the American Northeast and the Italian mafia and organized crime and brought it into a setting, the fictional city of Tulsa.
Will, you pointed out something very important about the Taylor Sheridan verse, old versus new, reaction versus the new world. But I think the primary reason that Sheridan is so successful and his projects are so big is because his protagonists, his heroes, represent the viewers in that the viewers are the types of people who wear those shirts that you buy on Facebook that are like, I may be the black sheep of the family, but I'm the one you call when shit gets tough.
Yes.
That
is
like,
every protagonist on one of his shows.
Yeah, it's like literally, it's all for people who are like, oh, I may be the worst member of this family, but I can sure get you Adderall. That isn't really Adderall, but my friend made it.
No, it's like everyone in the family may hate me, but if someone were trying to kill that family, they would call me.
Yeah, it's people who fantasize. It's people who like fantasize about their family being kidnapped so they could like save them and get invited back to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. We're like the solution to all of their relationship problems is a home invasion that they get to court.
Yes. It's sort of like the adult outgrowth of fantasizing about stopping a school shooting so you can finally have sex when you're in high school.
Well, so so Taylor Sheridan, heretofore his shows are sort of about the folk ways of criminals and their sort of old school customs and existing in the modern world. The old West meets the new West. And in this show, Tulsa King, the formula is what happens when the old East meets the new West. It is a show about Mafia Capo Dwight Manfredi, named after Dwight Eisenhower. Dwight the General Manfredi, who is released from prison after serving a 25-year stretch after doing a murder for his mafia family that he's like, I kept my mouth shut. I kept my mouth shut for 25
Literally
years.
the only mob guy in history facing a 25-year sentence who didn't flip immediately.
And the show makes a big deal out of that.
When mob guys get pulled over, when mob guys get moving violations, they give up the entire structure of their family.
It's amazing how little they give this guy for doing something that no other mafia guy has ever done.
So the show begins, and it's Stallone, and it's first day out the feds, and he's just on a 25-year jail stretch, and he's hoping that he's going to be warmly embraced by his the mafia family that he just sacrificed a quarter century of his life for. But there's all this he emerges from jail. There's a scene where he's driving through Manhattan. He's being chauffeured through Manhattan, and he's looking with bemused puzzlement at things like the City Bike, Soul Cycle, the New World Trade Center, the Apple Store. He's like, hey, what happened to 2 buildings here? No, it's just 1 building. And,
what happened to the Ground Zero Mosque? I used to love to pray there. So I received the Ummah.
He's going I kept my mouth shut all these years. I married this life. Now I'm going to see if this life married me back. And he gets his answer early on because his chauffeur is he just sort of cruises by Scores, the famous strip club in New York, and he's like, hey, we're going to go to Scores. There's going to be a party.
There's going to be a party for me and Scores.
No, sorry, Dwight Manfredi. You're not getting a stripper party for your first day out of prison. You're going to be chauffeured to the world's ugliest mansion on Long Island to immediately go into the worst meeting ever with the shittiest mafia family that's ever existed or been portrayed on television.
Just gross.
Dude, the Sons of Anarchy of mob families. Will, I put this in my this is the first thing I wrote down in my notes, and I just wrote the phlegm meeting. It's it's like a Bohemian Grove for guys who need auric vacuums to suck their mucus out.
It's the world's shittiest mafia family, and now like the boss who has like some sort of like he has like a fucking CPAP machine he's taking hits off of and shit. But like his son, who was like 10 years old when Dwight went to prison, is now he's like, hey, Dwight, Chick is my underboss now. What do you think you said him? Okay, the underboss is played by Dominic Lombardozzi.
From The Wire.
Lombardozzi, who you may remember. He was in The Wire. He was in fucking The Irishman. But here's the thing. If you know the guy I'm talking about, he has a very specific sort of like cue ball head. They give him the worst wig I have ever seen. Like, why does this character have hair? He's got a full head of hair, and it just like it's. If you're aware of this actor, it is like, okay. If you weren't aware that he was totally bald, then you're just wondering what the fuck is on this guy's head. And then if you are aware what this guy looks like, every time you look at him, you're just like, why the choice for this guy? Why does
It's
he have
wild.
hair?
It's like they just stapled a squirrel pelt to his head. Not since Corey Stahl in The Strain.
Yes.
Has there been a more bald-ass motherfucker inexplicably given a terrible hairpiece. And at least on that show, they gave up like halfway through the first season and had him shave his head.
Matt, are we in real strain hours right now?
Oh, yeah. You know we are. You know
we're in real strain hours right now. Felix, actually, the first note I had, because I rewatched this for the show today, the only thought I had, I don't know why, I just had this intrusive thought that the show should be called Lindy King, and the show is about a Paul Scalise fan getting out of prison and trying to make his way in the 4HL and fighting the 1YKAE or something.
Shout out
I'm
to
just
Paul.
thinking like it's a show about a guy who's Lindy.
Yeah,
it's a show about a Lindy man. It's a show about a Lindy man.
It is a show about a Lindy man.
Well, okay.
Because like when he went to jail, things were still Lindy, and he gets out of jail, everything is not Lindy anymore.
No. Shout out to Paul. A lot of people don't know this. Paul has followed me and corresponded with me because we're both fight fans since like 2013. I was on the Lindy train before anyone. But like, shout out to Paul. If you're Lindy, if you follow the Lindy principles, you go to prison for 25 years, you get out, you're fine because you're still only doing Lindy things. You're still only doing things the ancients did. Okay, so it's not like you're gonna just start using an iPad now. If you're out there, if you're a listener, if you're going to prison for 20 years, if you did something really bad, better start getting Lindy.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, like, he goes to jail. He probably went to jail in like 1999 or something. So, like, right at the end of history, and then it's just like, no, like, he did go to jail in like the 1950s. He gets out of jail. He's like, what's this noise? And it's like rap music or something. It's like, no, that existed in 19.
Yeah.
His references are still in like the 1950s. He's like, hey, now this here is real music, and it's like, Dean Martin or the Stones or something.
Yeah, they push it a little far. He sees like a woman in jeans, and he's like, "Hey, what the fuck? Does her husband let her do that?"
So, for his troubles, for marrying the game, for being faithful to the game for 25 years, what is his reward from his mafia family? They're like, hey, Dwight, things ain't been so good lately. You can't, there's not really a place for you here in New York. We got about, 6 fake jobs left. We have about 6 no-show union jobs for every fucking Italian mob guy in New York left. So your reward for your years of loyalty is you get to set up a new mob franchise in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then, he reacts to that news by, again, as a 75-year-old man, like one-shotting this much younger man, knocking him out cold because he's got no respect. This guy's mouth is running off. Got no respect. He knocks out the, hey, he's a capo. Oh, but then he's like, yeah, okay, I'll go to Tulsa. He doesn't put up much of a fight. He's like, okay. The next scene, he's in Tulsa.
If there is a character that this literally on screen 75-year-old man cannot beat up, we have not met him. Like he is a force.
He's an old school guy, and like the point is that even the mob isn't Lindy anymore. Like they got fucking Fitbits and fucking
they've gone woke.
They've gone woke, folks.
They've got the woke mind virus now. Yeah.
Why did the mafia go woke? They went broke.
So he decamps from Long Island to the middle of the Great Plains of America in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it's a real fish out of water story. He arrives at the airport and like a cricket jumps on him and he's like, oh, what the hell is that? And like some nice lady is like, oh, it's a June bug. And he goes, that's bigger than my cock. And then she spritzes him with holy water and he's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm going to be doing a lot of my Stallone voice on the show.
It's hard not to do.
He gets spritzed with holy water and then meets like the second lead on the show. The first black guy who hasn't been trying to stab him for the first black guy he's met in 25 years who hasn't been trying to kill him, and he's just like, oh, okay, why don't you take me to a hotel? And like he immediately befriends this like younger, cool black guy and hires him as his chauffeur.
This scene is awesome. Like, I mean, how could it not be? But it's like every bit of like bad racial buddy comedy. I guess if you went to prison for 25 years and this was the last scene you wrote before you went in, it would make a lot of sense because it'll be like it'll be shit like Stallone will be like, hey, just take me to the best place in town, and the black guy goes, oh, so you're a gangster, and he goes, I'm not a gangster. You can't go around calling everybody a gangster. And the guy goes, no, gangsta means cool. Like, gangsta is just what I say. And Stallone goes, you gotta check your fucking grammar, which I also made a note of because, like, if anyone is having trouble with grammar, it's not him. It's perhaps the most inaudible man who's ever lived.
So it's like, I mean, like his mafia family, they were just like, yeah, here's a plane, like, or don't even like, you buy your own plane ticket to Tulsa. Nothing is set up there, but they're like, yeah, you got to kick $5,000 a week back to us. It's like, what is he going to do there? Just see the fucking sights? Well, no, not Dwight, the General Manfredi. The first thing he does, even before he goes to a hotel, is he comes across a legal marijuana dispensary. Now, this becomes a major part of the plot, and it introduces our third lead, played by Martin Starr from Party Down and other various comedies, sort of like as the stand-in for the kind of the new world millennial sort of like nerd, stoner, kind of like a guy who could not be more different. Like the world in his frame of reference could not be more different than Stallone. So here's a question that I had. This is a legal business. This is a legal marijuana dispensary. And Stallone immediately just starts extorting him for protection money. But like, from who? It's legal. The way he explains, the way the writing
the
of the show,
and he goes, "What gangs?" That's the thing is like the show doesn't even give a justification. Like he doesn't even give one, and it's like that's fine. He's a dumb, mook or whatever. But the guy just gives him the money and then does not call the cops.
Sorry, my cat was acting a fool. So like he's just like the way this was explained to me, the viewer, I was watching, like, how are you as a member of organized crime able to like extort a legal drug business for protection when they can just call the cops and be like, hey, there's this Italian asshole who's trying to take me down for money, and they'd be like, well, yeah, obviously you're a licensed vendor. So the way he explains it to Martin Starr's character is that, hey, look, you may got a lot of money in the safe, but like the feds could take it away from you at any minute.
I guess
so, like, he just has like $500,000 in cash in a safe, but he's like, hey, you gotta start laundering that. So he's like, he was not committing crimes before he met this guy, and then now he's involved in a money laundering operation with this dude to wash his money that like apparently the feds can just take because it's still illegal at a federal level. I don't know. It did not make much sense to me, but it has an opportunity for a lot of wonderful bands between Sly and Martin Starr. What a mismatched comic duo they make.
I will say Martin Starr, a Chapo all-star, just one of the greats, amazing on Party Down, one of the funniest characters. But yeah, this is the laundering money thing, as you have pointed out, raises many more questions than it answers. Do we think that when Stallone's character was in prison, he was reading Intercept articles about Jeff Sessions' DOJ doing civil forfeiture of dispensaries in red states? I don't know. Hard to say.
You know what would really get the FBI more likely to seize your assets? If you're colluding with a fucking convicted mafia guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like maybe the feds could steal all your legal marijuana cash, but like it still doesn't make any sense why Martin Starr's character just like acquiesces to this ongoing business relationship.
Because he's a fucking millennial bitch. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, the show goes to great lengths, and I actually really like the way the show goes to great lengths to be like, actually, Martin Starr really did need the partnership and help of an experienced Italian-American gentleman who has, work experience in the crime-related fields. Like when they go into their next big business. You want to talk about Sons of Anarchy style low-rent crimes? Another big part of the show is cornering the nitrous oxide market at festivals in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh my God. That has to be dozens of dollars a week in profit.
He has a legal weed dispensary, which probably prints like $100,000 in profit like a week or something like that. And then they're like, hey, our next big move, we're going to sell this gas. We're going to sell this laughing gas to people at the circus.
You say that, oh, how could that be such a big deal? But it's apparently a big enough deal that it immediately puts them in violent confrontation with the 1% motorcycle gang who is also selling nitrous at festivals.
The name of the bad biker gang in this show is literally Black Adam. I mean, the name of the show is Black McAdam. Black McAdam is the name of the 1%er motorcycle gang that he runs afoul of. But every time I just think of Black Adam is the name of the bad guys on this show.
So I like the idea, just rewinding a little bit to the money laundering. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess there could be jurisdictional fights over legal marijuana, typically not under a Democratic president. But, I mean, whether it's fully legal or fully illegal, that is, Sylvester Stallone is the last guy I would want setting up my money laundering operation. Does that seem like it would have been his specialty in the mob?
One of the things in the early episodes that's a recurring plot is him trying to get a fucking debit card.
Yeah.
There are multiple scenes of his trying to get some sort of credit or debit card and failing.
Like, yeah, his money laundering scheme for this business is like, clearing like $100K a week in net income would be what? He's going to be like, we're selling CDs. All these kids love listening to music. We're selling $100,000 worth of CDs every week.
I got these old Rosemary Clooney records. We're going to launder money through them. Another great part about the scene where he first begins extorting the marijuana dispensary is Martin Starr's employees include a white guy with dreads who's like, whoa, man, you're freaking me out. And then like a really high white girl, probably also with dreads and like a nose piercing, who's like, when he accosts them, she's like, I'm really triggered right now. And he's like, well, what's trigger? What's trigger? What's that?
Oh yeah, there's so much good
millennial there's so much good millennial stuff on this show.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone, in case you were worried that he just lets wokeism happen around him, he does not. No, he does not.
Not on Dwight the General Manfredi's watch, I'll tell you that.
Dude, Dwight the General Manfredi, fire Christopher Rufo, who bricked the midterms. He sucks. Hire Dwight the General Manfredi. He killed it. Dude,
Okay.
When he heard about pronouns.
I want to jump ahead to the scene in episode 2 that involves him and Martin Starr going to see like the people who grow all the weed that Martin Starr sells. It's like on an Indian reservation. It's like they have like, and he uses his mafia business genius skills to like negotiate a better deal that this guy probably didn't even need to begin with. But because they're on a weed farm, he's eating like, apricot preserves or something. And the guy, like the head dude in charge of it is like, just so you know, those are infused just raspberry preserves or whatever. And it's like, infused with what? And he's like, well, you're on a marijuana farm. So like, he's just been dosing himself with weed. And then he's like, oh, I wonder why I feel so good right now. And then he's like, they're in the car driving back. And he's like, it's Sly smoking a joint, which like, honestly, I really appreciated because like, I always think of Stallone as such a, kind of like throwback old school guy. He's like something of a reactionary. So it was good to see a Stallone character, just chill out and smoke a doob. But of course, he gets high, and the bullshit he starts talking about is like, I got to ask you a question. like what's going on in this country right now? Like your generation, like what's going on with all these pronouns?
I feel like Rip Van Winkle. You wake up after 25 years, GM has gone electric, Dylan's gone public. A phone. There's a camera. Come on. And these pronouns. What the fuck is with the pronouns? He, she, him, they, the, boom, bang, bop, bong, cool. You know what my pronoun is? Guess. Time's up. It, as in it, can't take this shit anymore.
That amazing.
That's probably my favorite scene on television that I've seen this entire year of watching TV.
I would say in my lifetime. Well, I love this scene for so many reasons. Primarily among them that he like just names like pronouns that everyone has always said. Like he and
he. What the fuck
pronouns
is
like him
he?
and her?
Who the hell's a he?
It's like he.
What the fuck's a he?
It's like he's not even mad at the concept of like neo pronouns or like stating your pronouns. He's just mad at like the idea of using pronouns, of referring to yourself.
Like that article of speech.
Yeah,
it's pissing him off.
Unless you're referring to yourself or others by their proper noun, by their full name at all times, don't talk about them. Also,
no, I feel like
that his pro like that's a classic conservative joke. Like, my pronouns are "let's go Brandon" or whatever. But like, my pronoun is "it." I can't take this shit. Just boggles the mind.
It's so good.
He's awesome.
So good. He's like, call me it now. Sylvester Stallone is he's it, okay? We should respect that. But I feel like going back to something you said, I totally agree with you. Christopher Rufo, Libs of TikTok, huge fucking losers.
Brick.
Get Dwight Manfredi, get Frank Stallone instead of Sly, get Frank and Sly Stallone. Put them in charge of Republican messaging. They'll sort out these gender youths and the teachers.
They would not have like lost the Senate. That would not have happened to him. Christopher Rufo is a loser. Libs of TikTok, loser. If you stuck either of them in Oklahoma, they would not. They're definitely not becoming the kings or queens of Tulsa. I'll tell you that much.
Not in the least.
No way. Maybe the Tulsa jester. That's the most they can hope for.
And then going back to the first episode, he then meets it's just sort of like he slowly but surely puts together his own ragtag crew out in Tulsa of, people that you wouldn't think would be involved in a mafia enterprise, but you know what? He makes it work. They're sort of like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. A little bit outside. He's coloring a little bit outside the lines. Well, for a mafia guy, then he's like employing a black guy at all. Let alone trusting him with business or anything like that. So like the fourth member of the crew that he meets is a bartender at a cowboy bar played by Garrett Hedlund, who you may remember from Inside Llewyn Davis. He's sort of John Goodman's chaperone. He also played Neil Cassidy in the On the Road movie. He was
a failed hunk. He's one of the many attempts to do a younger movie star that failed because the conditions are no longer applicable. So he had to end up going back to TV.
Yeah, the economics for hunks post-Bush administration really are tough.
Yeah.
But, good to see Garrett in a TV show. But, he's an ex-con too. He's done some time. And, he I tell you, the name of the bar that he runs is called Bread to Buck. He runs the buck breaking bar. he's a professional buck breaking.
all the barbacks have to just find new skirts to put black guys in.
But at the Bread to Buck bar, at the Breeding Club, he beats the love interest to the show. Now, Felix, I'm interested to see if you clock this. Do you recognize the Sly Stallone love interest from another TV show that I know you're a fan of?
Wait, no. Wait, who is she?
Okay.
Who is she?
She was a character on Veep. She was not in the main cast. She was a recurring character. She was Selena's college friend who comes in to consult for them but never does anything.
Oh my God,
she just
the one
ends
who
up
just
restating everything they say.
Yeah.
She just rephrases everything they say back to them. A very funny character, and I really like seeing her on this show as well. But I was like,
she's awesome.
I was like, where have I seen this woman before? But yeah, no, she was on Veep. That was her other big TV credit before Tulsa King.
Yeah, she is
I don't think that's her though. If you're talking about the ATF agent, She was on Veep, but she was the Republican vice president who becomes president after the botched election.
Oh, okay. Well,
the fake Latina. Is she the fake?
Yeah, the fake Latina. She's the fake Latina.
Hold on.
All right, now I need to look this up. All right.
Yeah, Andrea Savage.
She plays Laura Montez.
Yeah.
All right, I was wrong. I was wrong.
That is Laura Montez. Good call.
Yeah. She's the Republican vice president.
Well, that was a funny character, too.
Yeah.
Not as funny as the other one that I thought she was.
Yeah.
Probably because I like that character so much. And I'm rooting for all my Veep heads, and I'm rooting for everyone on Tulsa King now. So he encounters her, who's there for her friend's bachelorette party, and like one of the drunk bitches she's with sidles up to Dwight, and she's like, "Are you famous?"
I love
like,
this scene.
If you, lady, if you gotta ask if someone's famous, they're not famous. And then she's like, "Can I take a picture? Can I take a selfie with you?" And she's like, "Listen, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't like having my photograph taken."
I love
So
this
he's like,
scene.
once again, combating millennial culture. And then the love interest comes over and she's like, "Hey, why are you mean to my friend?" And she's like, "Well, if you'd been a little nicer, we would have invited you to the party." And he's like, "Party? This don't seem like a party." And then she's like, "Okay, what's your idea of a party?" And then the next scene is that he's taken the bachelorette party to a strip club. And he's showing these gals a good old school time. That's what all ladies want to do, is go to a seedy strip club in Tulsa for their bachelorette
with a
party.
75-year-old man.
So, well, here's the funny part. He then takes her home, and they have sex. And then the woman is horrified to find out that he's 75 years old. And I was like, "Lady,
Unrealistic.
do you have eyes?"
Yeah. That is the most. I'm sorry. That is the most unreal. That is the most unrealistic thing in this entire show. I could buy anything else except for like a millennial or younger woman being like, "Ew, a 75-year-old." That is the opposite.
her fantasy.
That is the opposite of reality. Like if you
All
yeah.
women eventually marry their grandfather.
Yeah. If you want, like, you know what makes any woman horny, fellas out there? Our listeners are, they're millennials. They're creeping up there. You've long passed 30. It's time for you to learn a few tricks of the trade. Tell that girl you're casually seeing that you're experiencing hip problems. Really play up the angle. Girls around 25 love it when a man is old. And I guarantee you, if he had told her in real life, if that really happened, the equivalent of that situation, he says, "I'm 75. She would have squirted with such a force that it would have destroyed the hotel.
Hey, Dwight, the General Manfredi, it would have been like the Normandy landing all over again, how wet she was getting.
Yes.
So she's horrified to find out that the guy she just fucked was a high school senior when Kennedy was assassinated. but that's all, not all is done with this character, because the next day we find out that, as Matt already alluded to, she's an ATF agent. Oh. And then in her morning meeting, they're like, "Hey guys, just something to be on the lookout for. FBI has just tapped our shoulder and let us know that a well-known mafia associate has just come into town. And so if any of you have had sex with him in the last 24 hours, now is the time to say so."
Yeah. They're sitting around,
"Oh, fuck me."
Yeah, they're sitting around the office Keurig, and they're like, "So, has anyone fucked any criminals by mistake recently?"
So basically that's the end of episode 1. Now I'd like to now spend the rest of just talk about some highlights from we've done a good job setting up the pilot and the concept of the show, but the show's still ongoing. It's in its 6th episode, but what are some other highlights from the next couple episodes? Because I already alluded to the pronoun conversation in episode 2, which, like I said, is probably the funnest moment I've had watching television all year. But there's a point
one of the favorites for me is, Dwight decides, "Hey, we're going to make some money selling nitrous to these kids at this music festival," where they run afoul of the 1% bikers who are already there. And their leader is, of course, a scary Northern Irish guy, because that's that Kurt Sutter DNA infused in here that you can't get out.
Yeah.
And then the bikers, of course, end up beating the hell out of his soft
out of Martin Starr.
minions.
Or Martin Starr.
And then they go to Dwight and they're like, "What do we do? Oh my God, this guy's," and he's like, "You guys ever read Sun Tzu's Art of War?"
Yes.
You don't gotta fight sometimes. You do strategy. You gotta think. And then the plan that he comes up with is they just go to where the bikers are, get a bunch of baseball bats, and just beat them up.
Yep.
Which they handily do. They successfully beat the shit out of a larger number of motorcycle criminals, led by 75-year-old Sylvester Stallone, who of course knocks everybody the fuck out.
And when he says, so they're like, they're at the fairgrounds, and then like Martin Starr or whatever is just like, okay, what does Sun Tzu say we should do now? And then Stallone goes, in the art of war, Sun Tzu says, at some point in his life, every man's got to grow a set of balls. And then he just pops up in the trunk, and there's like 15 baseball bats in there. So it was like, what happened to the greatest victories are achieved without violence? And it's like, okay, sometimes the greatest victories are achieved without violence. Other times they are achieved with violence, though. So that's what we're doing now. But okay, Matt, the whole Sun Tzu narrative made me think of Brian Quimby so much, because this was like a perfect like Brian Quimby, like I just felt like this was so much in his wheelhouse. I told him to watch this show, but like explicitly like the perfect dumb guy thing of referencing the art of war and then doing the exact opposite of what that quote is supposed to import. No, there's one more element to the nitrous oxide baseball bat art of war rumble that I thought we really must comment on. It's that he employs his chauffeur's dad to come along and do an act of gang violence with his son to sort of reunite them, because like the dad is worried that like, son, you're better than this. You need to go back to college. You don't need to be working for this criminal. And he's like, Dad, I'm my own man. I can do what I want. And then Stallone just sort of meets the dad and is like, hey, you want to come beat up some bikers with us? And he's like, all right, I'll help my son. So it's
look,
like,
if my son's going to go out beating bikers, I want to go out and beat up bikers with him. You know, it's like how you want your kids to drink in your house so they don't get into trouble.
Yeah, they really, that was a conflict they pretty quickly scrapped. One of my highlights, it's a darker scene, but, or set of scenes, but it is so insane that I still want to mention it. So obviously, like every single character of his type, every character like this, where it's like a wizened old tough guy, he has a daughter who doesn't like him. Every character like that has one of those, right?
Yep.
Sylvester Stallone's character, obviously, he's got one of those. So there's this revelation that she was raped by like one of his associates, but the way that they like reveal this is so insane.
Oh my God, yeah.
Basically, she's like, you don't give a shit. You're never around, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, no, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, one of your associates, he did something, never mind. And he goes, what did one of my associates do to you? And she goes, let's just say he showed me why they call him the package. Which is like, it's like dialogue. It's like dialogue from a fucking porno used to describe this character's rape. It's insane. Just out of this world. I don't know how that made it in. But this is like, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite moment, though. This is really the successor to Sons of Anarchy more than even the Mayans, which I love.
Okay. Taylor Sheridan, if you're listening to this show, if people are connected to the Taylor Sheridan verse, what would it take? Okay, you already said Tulsa King Season 2, already been greenlit. It's a big hit. What would it take to incorporate Kurt Sutter as an actor onto Tulsa King? What would it take for him to reprise his Armenian hitman character from The Shield, but he's in Tulsa?
And also for Kurt Sutter to do his director's trademark of having a limb cut off, being given AIDS, being given hepatitis, losing an eye, having his thumb cut out, being cuckolded, being like having an Amazon Alexa shoved up his ass, and having the Alexa recite all the most traumatic memories of his life. Just all these things that
like
Kurt Sutter.
There's so many things that he could do. Like they could have him get fed into an industrial meat grinder or something.
Yeah.
Maybe Dwight could like reminisce about his time in jail, and Kurt Sutter could reply in flashbacks, reprise the role of Otto from Sons of Anarchy, like you said, and Dwight could just be like, I'm gonna tell you something, Bodie. He'll be talking like Martin Starr, one of the millennials. You think you got it rough today with all these pronouns and going to work? Let me tell you about the most raped man I've ever met. Tell you about the most tortured raped man I've ever met.
He goes up to the black guy and he's like, who's the most raped guy you know? And he's like, what? I don't know anyone like that. He's like, well, that's right. Because you never met anyone who got raped as many as my friend Otto. You know why he got raped? Because he believed in something.
Because he had honor.
I would love to see Kurt Sutter in it. Mostly though, I really do just trust Taylor Sheridan's instincts. Like he is keyed in to the sort of for the people in the audience who've played the game Deus Ex. When you link into cybernetic human consciousness, Taylor Sheridan is that, but with the cybernetic unit consciousness of TV. He understands it in a deep way that I don't think anyone else quite does. Ken Olin gets a little bit because Ken Olin knows so many evil, heartstring tugging tricks. But Taylor Sheridan, I have to say he's using his powers for good.
You can tell that with the daughter subplot. So she admits this, that she'd been assaulted by one of his associates when he was in prison. And she says, don't do anything about it. I've moved on and all that. And of course, an opportunity for Dwight to show some growth and like respect his daughter's wishes. No, he immediately goes, finds the guy and beats him to death in front of all the other mafia guys.
And then
stomps his face open.
And then he immediately goes directly from doing a murder right back to his daughter, probably 15 minutes after they had this conversation. And she's like, Dad, did you murder the guy who raped me? And he's like, yeah, I did. What do you want from me? He's like, I told you not to, though. He's got blood dripping off of his fucking hands from beating this guy to death.
And he's like, I did it for you.
That's what.
I did it for the honor.
That's why Taylor Sheridan is such a fucking genius, though. Because, like, the 48-year-olds who are watching this, and there are millions of them. This is going to be the biggest show on TV. That is like, they get to watch that scene and it replaces the real reason in their brains why their daughters don't talk to them. Like they see that and they're like, oh, that's actually what happened. Like, oh, I actually did that. And that's like why she didn't come home for Christmas. Not because of like something insane I said or did. I just like love her.
Yeah, not much. Because of what the genocidal Minions memes I keep posting on Facebook.
yeah. Not because I told her that like Taylor Swift got executed in Gitmo for being a pedophile.
I gotta ask you guys, literally, your generation, this country, honestly, what the fuck is going on with all these minions? Everywhere I look, there's a fucking minion everywhere. So some other good like sort of millennial Lindy versus new culture clash is him discovering like coffee shops.
Ooh.
And then he's like, "Hey, can I just get this espresso in like a cup, like a normal cup?" And like the blue hair behind the counter is just like, "I think it's really cool that you're green, but like we only use recycled paper here, But if you want to bring your own metal cup, that's fine." And then he brings his own espresso cup to like a Starbucks and pours the espresso in a little porcelain espresso. Have his little cafe.
That is. What's so great about this show is like they do a bunch of stuff that's like well tread, right? Where like an older like badass character rages against the modern, like, we've been seeing the coffee trope for over 30 years now. I mean, we famously referenced
I want some coffee flavored coffee, okay?
Exactly. We've referenced the all-time great Dennis Leary bit that was literally from over 30 years ago. But there's just like a certain panache that Sheridan and Stallone bring to it that makes it feel new. They really take a bunch of angles that no one else would take. And the fact that it's not Dennis Leary or it's not like, I don't know, Clint, that it is this, I would say probably the most confusing physiology a 75-year-old has ever had. Really just adds so much to it. Just a terrific show. I mean, look, I'm sure an unfortunate few thousand of you have the grave dishonor of having to go home for the holidays to Missouri or one of those places. Well, why don't you watch this show with your parents? They may have their values, but you will still love it. It's a little family bonding.
Fun for the whole family.
Yes.
One more scene and character that I'd like to bring up is that one of the guys that he adds to his crew is like a former New York mob guy who's like been hiding out in Oklahoma for like 20 or 30 years, like about the same amount of time since Dwight's been gone. He's lit out and he's like not witness protection, but he just like fled the mafia and is now working on like a horse farm in Oklahoma for some rich lady, played by Max Casella, who was also in Inside Llewyn Davis, and he was also on The Sopranos. He's the dude that Artie Bucco beats up, who's like fucking his hostess or whatever. He was one of Tony's flunkies on The Sopranos. Yeah. And he's on this show, and like he sees Stallone in a mall and immediately thinks that like he's been sent to Oklahoma to kill him, right? To assassinate him for, breaking Omerta and leaving this thing of ours. And then there's a hilarious scene where he takes it upon himself to strike first and attempts to kill Sylvester Stallone while he's taking his driver's ed exam and nearly domes the driver's ed teacher, leading to like a fucking car chase where like his driver's ed instructor is like in the passenger seat the whole time.
I think I'm dying.
You're not dying. If you were dying, you'd already be dead.
The driver's ed scene is great. And, frankly, as someone who will one day be taking driver's ed again, gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like keep your cool, check your mirrors, and don't get shot in the head. But like basically he despite the fact that this guy nearly murdered him, he's just like, yeah, you work for me now. And then he's part of the crew. And you know what? He loves it. He's having fun again. He's fighting bikers, hitting them with baseball bats. He beats up the guy whose dog keeps shitting on his lawn. It's like, he's forgotten what it's like to be Lindy. And now that Stallone's in town, he can be in a gang again. And that's what this show's about. It's like, in this modern world, in this world that's lost sight of things like honor and tradition. People have lost sight of being in gangs.
Yeah, I mean, that's what social atomization does. You get rid of gangs, bowling leagues, all this stuff.
So like this is, we've been making fun of this show that like this show is an assault on, the woke mind virus and millennial culture, but really what it is, it's about chosen family. It's about the gang that you choose rather than the one you're born into.
Yeah, no, and I really don't think so much that it's like an attack on millennial culture, because like what I see the show as at the end of the day is that like, okay, there's this tragedy that there really like isn't a mafia in America anymore. We've talked about it a bunch, how sad it is, how good it would be for there to be a mafia, how many activities they would provide for people, how it was just nice to have them around, But it shows that even if you are a millennial, even if you are clinically libtarded, as I am, as you are, as we all are, you can still start your own mafia in Tulsa. You need it.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's a frontier out there. There's places where they don't know nothing about protection rackets, and you can just walk in and get some clueless guy to just give you money out of his safe.
Yeah, and the young millennials, sure, they could not start their own mafia. But at the same time, the experienced Capo regime, Dwight Manfredi, he could not have his own mafia just as an island. He needs them. We need community. We need to work together. The old and the young, we can both learn from each other. And together, we can recreate the fun of the old mafia, even with pronouns, even with cell phones, even with girls wearing jeans.
It's like, look, Stallone, Dwight Manfredi, he needs to be taught about things like Uber and having a driver's license and paying taxes. But then like, Martin Starr and like the chauffeur character, they need to be taught about things like, doing murders on the orders of older men, running protection rackets, doing racketeering, just classic stuff like that they don't teach anymore because they're teaching the 1619 project in schools and not how to run a book, how to take what a spread is and how to get money out of degenerate gamblers.
Tulsa is in your hearts if you want it. That's the message of this show.
Yeah. Look, I know I say it all the time, but TV is back. And boy, howdy, did it never go away.
I think I think Tulsa King's about halfway through this season. I think we'll have to come back for the like a season wrap up. Maybe we have some guests, because this show it's giving me that Sons of Anarchy magic. It's giving me that feeling for bad TV is good TV. Good TV is bad. Good
The
TV
best
is
TV.
bad.
I like look, man, I fucking love like actually good TV. I know we make fun of prestige TV. The White Lotus, I think it's amazing. I love it. I've endlessly sung its praises. Mad Men, love it. Sopranos, you've heard me say everything about it. But also, this type of TV needs to exist too, and it's great in its own way. And also, this is my final plea: Taylor Sheridan, please hire all three of us. We would do nothing but add to your vision. That would, oh my God.
If you want someone to punch
the millennial scumbags that you're trying to own.
Yeah.
We can
If
make the owning of them
if you need a
even richer
triumvirate to
and more
punch
textured.
up the Martin Starr character, just get our numbers, please.
Yeah. I cannot think of a more fun job than like writing for Tulsa King. We would be so good at it too. You know the fake prestige show that I made up, The Frozen Garden?
What's that?
I was like just trying to come up with like a fake like sort of sub prestige show that would be on AMC, like something that they would try where they're trying to like recapture the Breaking Bad magic, but it's like not as good of a cast or writers. And it's called The Frozen Garden, and it's about a detective who hurt his knee while playing like college hockey, so he had to become a detective, and he has to solve his stepdaughter's murder. And he has a pill problem. Taylor Sheridan, please let us write The Frozen Garden.
All right, here's my writing packet. I'm going to submit this to Taylor Sheridan right now. A potential future plot line on Tulsa King. Okay, like how do we deal with Dwight in this modern world of apps and things like that, and opportunities for crime there within? So he discovers the app Grindr, the gay hookup app, and he gets on the gay hookup app and arranges dates with gay men. And when they show up expecting some dick from, a 75-year-old daddy with big muscles, he then extorts them for being gay, even though it's totally normal and okay to be gay. So he shows up for the date and like maybe he has sex with them, but then takes photos and he's like, "Hey, you want your wife finding out about this?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm gay. I'm not. It's he's like, "Okay, how about your job?" And like they're like, "Yeah, I own my own business. It's an okay. You don't have to be blackmailed by this." But then, of course, all of them will end up being blackmailed by him anyway because they'll just give over money because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle a guy like him. So he starts extorting openly gay men for being gay.
Ooh, okay, that's
It makes as much sense as doing a protection racket on a legal business with no like organized crime anywhere around to threaten them.
okay. How about this? On 7, so Martin Starr, he goes to see an unnamed live podcast show. I'm not writing in cameos for ourselves, but if Mr. Sheridan, you see that fit, we would be honored. And so he goes there. There's a DSA table, and he sees a cute girl. She's got a Monroe piercing because it's Tulsa, and they still think that's cool there. And he's like, I really want her, but I don't know what to do. And Dwight is there, obviously. He's not paying attention to all that. He notices like all the different types of pride flags, right? He's like, wait a minute, I got an idea. And his new racket that his ragtag gang comes up with is that they're going to make pride flags with increasingly made up stripes to represent things that like aren't on other pride flags. And if you don't,
don't have the new flags with stripes on it, then they can extort you.
Yeah. Like if you like, like your flag doesn't have people who are in federal prison for RICO charges. You're not a real ally. Like that. I think that would be a great storyline. We could introduce the DSA girl as a character, but then have it so that the DSA girl is actually a mafia mole sent to spy on Dwight.
Ah.
But then she really falls in love with Martin Starr.
I couldn't
Sort
help
of
but
like-
noticing that your pride flag doesn't represent Aero Ace peoples, and it would just be a shame if something happened to you. Be a shame if you were excluding asexual people from pride.
You do a lot of thinking when you're in the can. About 10 years in, I realized I'm pan. Or no, he would say something like, "I realize that pan ain't just something that you put your mozzarella in."
Oh God. Okay, this writes itself. Okay.
Please hire us.
Yeah, no. Okay, so no, he discovers that Martin Starr is in a poly relationship, and he'll be like, "What the fuck? Back in my day, I used to just give my gumad the old brajol on a Saturday."
Oh my God! Yeah, then they realize that like the open guma system is really just poly.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, and it's just like a beautiful linking of past and present. Man,
maybe this makes more sense. I didn't know. I've been in a poly relationship this whole time.
At the Copa, Saturdays were for your primary partners, but Fridays are always for the thirds and unicorns.
I got this secret document. It's a list of all the shittiest men in Tulsa media.
This show writes itself. God damn it. So many good stuff. So
please hire us.
there we go. That's So that's Lindy King. That's our submission to Taylor Sheridan to hire the three of us as actors, writers, showrunners. Look, I can do it all, Taylor.
Yeah.
I can do it all, and like I said, I can punch up any character who's gay, cringe, and libtarded.
Yeah, no, we're all writing from personal experience here. And like we would love to write for this show, but we will like write for any show you create. We'll even create one for you, and you can just say you did it. We don't care. We just want to be involved.
Let's link and build.
We think you're awesome. We're so glad that you've dethroned the villain Ken Olin to become the new king of TV. You rock, sir.
So there you go. That's Tulsa King. I promise Avatar is coming soon.
Yeah, we will do that. We will
Once I test negative for gay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.